So this morning I spent some time thinking about some of the most mind-blowing reptile or animal enclosures that I've had on the podcast. So today I want to break down the top 4 that I came up with. Of course, I've had 230 plus guests on the podcast, and we've had some incredible enclosures along the way, but these are 4 that stand out as something that's almost unattainable in some ways. That hopefully doesn't depress you. It's just a very high target to reach. These 4 examples are something that you have to be a very specific type of person to be able to pull off. So they're almost all reptile related. Number 2 is non-reptile related, but it is such an amazing set of enclosures that you have to see that as well, because even if you're not I don't want to say what it is yet, even if you don't keep these animals, then you will be inspired to improve the care for the animals that you do keep. So let's start with number 4 in my list. So coming in at number 4 is Anke Mertens, who is a Belgian reptile keeper, and she has this jaw-dropping enclosure for her false water cobra. The enclosure takes up a huge part of a room in her home. It's 13 feet wide or 4 meters wide and about 2 meters deep, so about 6.5 feet deep, and then floor to ceiling in height, so imagine around 8 feet or so, with a giant 260-gallon fish tank aquarium that juts off the side of the enclosure to allow the false water to exhibit all of its natural aquatic behaviors. So if you know anything about false water cobras, then you know they are very fast, very smart, large colubrids, and the more space you can give them, the better. And Anke just smashed this one out of the park. And I believe it was her very first snake she's ever got into. I have to remind myself, go back to listen to the episode. So if you are interested in learning more about that project, you can check out the episode. I'll have everything linked in the comment below. Now, coming in at number 3 on this list is Cory Aymar of Toothless Reptiles. Now, I don't believe Cory is keeping reptiles. I think he's actually completely out of the reptile world entirely. But a few years ago, he was working with monitors, specifically water monitors, but he was actually starting a breeding project with crocodile monitors. Very few people have bred crocodile monitors in captivity. So he went above and beyond and set up this giant, essentially a shop facility to create one of the largest monitor enclosures you can have. So in this shop, I think it was divided into 3 separate enclosures, but the large kind of most impressive centerpiece of the entire project was the middle enclosure designed for his crocodile monitors, and it was 16 feet wide, 16 feet tall, and 12 feet deep at over 3,000 cubic feet. It had 2 stories, a bunch of trees and branches and places for the animals to dig, and it included a free-flowing sort of river that ran down the middle. I think if I remember correctly, crocodile monitors do like to drink from flowing water, so that was part of the design there, and that river kind of carried on into the other monitor enclosures, including the water monitor enclosure, which had a much larger water feature. So again, an example of someone that went way above and beyond. We're talking about putting real, huge, giant trees inside the enclosure, which means the shop had to have huge, tall ceilings, and I'll put maybe a time lapse here from his YouTube channel. That was one that stands out of my memory as somebody that's just done something that basically nobody else can do. And number 2 on the list, this is the only non-reptile related project that I have in this list, is the unbelievable, insane hermit crab enclosure that Darcy and her daughters have over at Crab Central Station. Now, unfortunately, Crab Central Station is a YouTube channel, but doesn't seem to be overly active anymore. I'm sure they're busy with their lives. They have lots of things going on, and I assume they still are in the crab world or crab hobby in some capacity. But the project that they set up in their spare bedroom is mind-blowing. And the reason it's mind-blowing is because typically hermit crabs are kept in these tiny little, like half-gallon plastic containers, but their crab room included 710 gallons of setup that wrapped around 25 feet in total, so it actually just made sort of a C shape inside their spare room. And as I'm just going to show footage here, you can see when you have an upside-down aquarium on top of 2 aquariums, that's basically a place for the crabs to come up and over, so there was a ton of opportunity for them to climb, super deep substrate so they could dig, lots of leaf litter, saltwater pools, freshwater pools. They even had hamster wheels, or I should say have hamster wheels, and a bunch of different enrichment opportunities for the crabs to continue to stay in shape, for lack of a better word. Crabs do walk a lot in the wild, so to simulate that in captivity, you can do things like offer a hamster wheel, which they actually do in fact use. So the reason that this is so impressive is because you're taking an animal that is typically a gimmick throwaway pet and giving it essentially a giant palace. And that's what I love about this project. And they also happen to be, probably no surprise to anybody who keeps animals, they happen to be one of the very first people to actually captively breed hermit crabs in their home in captivity. And the reason that they're able to do that is because their care is outstanding. And again, I think there's like 1 or 2 people that had done it before them. It is an crazy intensive process to be able to breed hermit crabs. Involves hours and hours of work every day for weeks and weeks on end. So if you want to listen to that, I'll put that link up to the episode that we recorded with them in the show notes as well, or in the comment pin below, because it's just mind-blowing as well. But anyway, I wanted to make sure I highlighted them, because if you're somebody who keeps an animal that isn't a hermit crab, this is going to inspire you to make something even better, I hope. And number one on my list, I honestly, truly believe, and I said that to this individual when I talked to him, that this is almost every animal keeper's dream setup, and that is Zach Porritt's setup over at A Life Exotics. Go check out his YouTube channel. But he has created in his backyard a 30-foot by 20-foot greenhouse, and inside it is just essentially a free-range rainforest or jungle. He has a bunch of tropical plants, a massive predator fish pond with peacock bass and stingray and arowana. He has ventilation systems and misting systems and temperature control, and obviously all that's what you would need to have a tropical rainforest in the middle of Utah, especially in the winter. But he also has a bunch of free roaming reptiles and amphibians. So he has some dart frogs and some different species of tree frog, a tree skink, a few species of tachydermis, which is a Japanese grass lizard. And he also has a very large, and which will actually end up being much larger, Amazon puffing snake. All free roam, all able to sort of act out as much of a natural life as they can, with a huge amount of ample space. And it is probably one of my favorite reptile and amphibian, actually is my favorite reptile and amphibian related project, because it is as if you're walking into those natural habitats. And like I said just a second ago, I think this is almost everybody's dream, to just have a greenhouse where you can go relax in and watch animals do their thing without feeling like they're in a container that's too small for them to actually enjoy their lives. So if you're looking for some inspiration in your animal-related project, whether that's reptile, amphibian, or otherwise, maybe you keep inverts or hermit crabs or fish even, hopefully this opened your eyes and gave you an idea of what is possible. Again, like I said at the very intro of this video, these projects are basically projects that you aren't going to be able to accomplish. I shouldn't say that about you personally, just in general, the proverbial you. These are sort of next level, very special, particular individual are able to pull these types of things off. But I think they're just so fun to watch and so fun to look at. So I was happy to share this list with you. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know below, what is your favorite? Are there things that aren't on this list? Are maybe some animal enclosures that I don't even know about that I should have on the podcast, and we can learn about them as well. So please, in the comments, let me know everything that you are thinking as well. And I will catch you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.